Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we are witnessing a massive escalation in the Gaza war, a turning point that could redefine the entire conflict. Israel has officially launched what it calls Phase 2 of its military operation against Hamas. After days of heavy bombardment, the Israeli military has now entered the most aggressive stage of its campaign, one that targets Gaza from land, air, and sea. Reports coming in from Gaza describe a night filled with non-stop explosions, fighter jets streaking across the sky, and artillery shells raining down on densely populated areas. The Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, claim they're striking Hamas command centers, tunnel networks, and key weapons sites. But on the ground, the destruction is far beyond military targets. Its entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. Israel's defense minister announced earlier this evening that Phase 2 is aimed at the complete dismantling of Hamas infrastructure. Tanks have rolled closer to Gaza's borders, with hundreds of troops reportedly preparing for a deep ground invasion. This marks the largest movement of Israeli forces since the conflict began. Inside Gaza, communication networks are collapsing. Residents report that internet and phone signals have gone dark in many areas, making it almost impossible for families to reach one another or call for help. Ambulances race through shattered streets as civilians search through debris, desperate to find survivors. This new phase of Israel's assault appears to be far more coordinated and far more destructive. The Israeli military says it's deploying special ground units to surgically eliminate Hamas leadership. But eyewitnesses describe scenes of total chaos. Entire districts under bombardment, with bombs falling just minutes apart. Late-night footage shows the skyline of Gaza glowing orange, fire and smoke covering the horizon. Each blast sends shockwaves through the city, shattering windows miles away. The sound of drones hovers above constantly, a reminder that death can strike at any second. For Gaza's 2 million residents, the fear is overwhelming. Many have already fled their homes, seeking shelter in overcrowded hospitals, schools, and mosques. But even those places are no longer safe. According to reports, several shelters have been hit in the last 24 hours, sparking international outrage. Meanwhile, Israeli officials insist that this is a necessary operation. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated, "We are entering the next stage of our fight. Hamas will pay a heavy price for its crimes." The statement was broadcast with dramatic images of tanks, drones, and naval ships preparing for combat, a clear message that Israel is not backing down. In response, Hamas has vowed to fight back until the last breath. The group released a statement through its spokesperson, claiming that their fighters are ready for a long war and that Gaza will not surrender. The Qassam brigades, Hamas military wing, reportedly launched a new wave of rocket attacks towards southern Israel just hours after the announcement of Phase 2. Explosions were heard near Ashkelon and Beersheba as Iron Dome defense systems intercepted dozens of rockets. Still, several made impact, causing fires and property damage. Emergency sirens blared through the night, sending thousands of Israelis running for cover. As this new phase unfolds, the world watches anxiously. The United Nations has called for an immediate ceasefire, warning of a catastrophic humanitarian disaster if fighting continues at this scale. The UN Secretary General said, "The situation in Gaza is beyond crisis. It is collapsing into total despair." Yet, diplomacy seems out of reach. Egypt and Qatar, two key mediators, have reportedly suspended ceasefire negotiations after Israel's announcement. Regional analysts warn that this escalation could pull neighboring countries, like Lebanon, Iran, and Syria, deeper into the conflict. In southern Lebanon, Hezbollah has already increased cross-border attacks, claiming solidarity with Hamas. Israeli artillery has responded fiercely, striking several Hezbollah positions in return. What began as a localized war between Israel and Hamas now risks spiraling into a broader regional confrontation. Inside Israel, emotions are running high. Many citizens are demanding decisive action to eliminate Hamas once and for all. But others, including families of hostages still held in Gaza, are pleading for restraint, fearing that the current operation could doom any chance of negotiation. The divide within Israeli society is growing sharper with each passing day. On the streets of Gaza, hope is fading. Families are running out of food, water, and medicine. The humanitarian situation is reaching breaking point. Hospitals are overwhelmed with casualties, doctors working by candlelight as fuel supplies for generators run dangerously low. Videos circulating online show heartbreaking scenes. Children pulled from rubble, families digging through collapsed buildings with their bare hands, entire neighborhoods unrecognizable. In the background, the constant hum of drones and jets serves as a grim soundtrack to their suffering. Internationally, reactions are pouring in. The United States reaffirmed its support for Israel's right to defend itself, but also urged restraint to minimize civilian casualties. European leaders are divided, some calling for Israel to halt its operations, others insisting that Hamas must first stop its attacks. Meanwhile, protests have erupted across major cities, from London to New York to Jakarta, demanding an end to the violence. Back in Gaza, Israeli ground troops have begun limited incursions near the northern border. Reports indicate that small IDF units are testing Hamas defenses, probing tunnel entrances, and clearing areas for larger assaults. The Israeli Air Force continues to pound targets relentlessly, claiming to have struck hundreds of sites linked to Hamas military command. However, Hamas fighters are far from defeated. Underground tunnel networks, often called the Metro, remain a key part of their strategy. These tunnels stretch for miles beneath Gaza, allowing Hamas to move fighters and weapons undetected. In past conflicts, these tunnels have given them a critical advantage, and Israel knows it. That's why Phase 2 heavily focuses on destroying them. Massive bunker-buster bombs have been deployed, designed to penetrate deep underground. But every strike risks hitting civilian infrastructure above, hospitals, schools, and homes built over the hidden tunnels. This is why casualties continue to mount on both sides, and why the humanitarian cost of this war is growing unbearable. As the hours pass, Gaza's night sky remains ablaze. The roar of jets mixes with the cries of families searching for loved ones. The streets are littered with debris, cars reduced to ashes, power lines down, and smoke thick enough to choke the air. Military analysts are calling this phase the most dangerous yet, not just for Gaza, but for the entire region. Because if Hamas continues to resist, Israel may be drawn into an extended ground war, something even its own military strategists warn could be catastrophic. Meanwhile, intelligence sources claim Iran and Hezbollah are closely monitoring Israel's actions. Some reports suggest Iran has already increased arms shipments to Gaza through covert channels. If confirmed, it could open a dangerous new front in the conflict, escalating tensions beyond control. Despite the devastation, Hamas leadership remains defiant. In a recent audio message, a senior commander declared, "We have survived their bombs, and we will survive their invasion. Gaza will never fall." The message spread rapidly online, inspiring supporters but alarming Israeli officials who view it as a call for continued resistance. The coming days will determine the future of this war, whether Israel's Phase 2 succeeds in crushing Hamas or whether it ignites an even larger confrontation that engulfs the Middle East. Every hour brings new explosions, new casualties, and new fears. For now, the world can only watch as Gaza burns and Israel pushes deeper into the heart of the conflict. The cost of this war, in lives, in cities, in human suffering, continues to climb. And as both sides dig in, peace feels more distant than ever. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.